Hello, welcome. That was fun. I didn't know that was coming. Welcome all to the 2026 finale of Invest Together in Women-Led Impact. We are thrilled to have you all. Thanks for joining and spending your morning, lunch, afternoon with us for the next hour. This is the event to meet and hear from top women-led ventures from across Canada who are currently raising equity investment. And you'll be seeing which top venture will be taking home the Grand Investment Prize. I'm Caroline von Hirschberg. I'm co-CEO of Spring, and I'll be co-hosting this event with Nathan Percy, Spring's Investment Relation Manager.
Welcome. Thanks so much, Caro. And to everyone just joining us now, a warm welcome to you. I'm Nate, the Investor Relations Manager at Spring, and I've had the pleasure of working very closely alongside the amazing Spring team who's with us behind the scenes, as well as our 2026 investor and founder cohorts.
Wonderful. And before we jump in, I want to acknowledge that I'm joining from Vancouver on the traditional, ancestral, unceded and stolen territories of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. I'm especially grateful for the generations who have cared for these lands and waters and those who continue that responsibility today. One teaching that I've found especially resonant since I moved here is the 7th generation principle. So making decisions today with the well-being of future generations in mind. And I think it's a great reminder of the responsibility that we carry and also power that we have in how we shape systems, move our capital, and influence the future. So for me, that feels especially relevant today, that long view. Wherever you're joining from, I invite us all to reflect on the land beneath us and the role that each of us can play, the different types of capital we can use to invest in the future that we want our families and future generations to grow up in.
And today's finale is the culmination of 6 weeks of learning, collaboration, and meaningful conversations between impact-driven investors and inspiring Canadian founders. Now, before we dive in, we'd love to know who's in the room with us. Feel free to drop a quick introduction in the chat, your name, your organization, and where you're joining us from. Whether you're deeply experienced in the impact ecosystem or just starting your journey, you're in the right place. Welcome. And while you are all introducing yourselves and connecting in the chat, we'd like to share a bit about Spring. We seek to change the world through innovation. We do this by connecting and educating founders and investors to create a sustainable, healthy, and equitable world. How do we do that? We catalyze capital to impact-driven ventures, and we address the gaps and barriers that prevent everyone from having equitable access to equity and capital.
So at Spring, we use the word impact a lot, and because it means a lot to us. So at a time when the word impact is often being used by many as a shortcut for job creation and revenue growth, I wanted to clarify what impact and impact investing means to us at Spring. And it means, and frankly, to the ecosystem at large. It means the intentional creation of measurable, positive social and/or environmental effects. And that definition spans a huge variety of company and capital types, and we support both ventures and investors to develop and deepen their own approach to impact and impact investing. And at Spring, we also strive to walk the talk in all that we do. And that for us includes being a certified B Corp. So if you're familiar with the certification, you'll know that it looks at every single dimension of your operations and your impact inside and out. It was harder than trying to get into spy school for me. To that effect, I wanted to share hot off the press that, drum roll, and a real shout out to all of our Spring team, past and present, in making this possible. We've just been recertified, which increases our score from 97 to 117. Which also includes our VC fund, Spring Impact Capital. So if you know how hard this is to get, you'll appreciate what I've just shared there. But really, it's all about us walking the talk alongside the founders and investors we work with.
which is honestly amazing. And I think part of that success is this program right here, our Invest Together in Women-Led Impact. This is our 5th annual celebration of women-led ventures and focusing on creating equitable funding opportunities for incredible women and gender diverse founders. And today's 2026 entrepreneurs are joining a powerhouse group of top ventures that came before them, and for whom programs and communities like this have had a catalytic effect on their fundraising and growth.
Over the past 5 years of women-led programming, the volume, diversity, and also quality of applications continues to grow. So this year, we reviewed over 130 applications from women and gender diverse founders from across Canada. It was extremely tough, as you can imagine, to narrow down a top 10. Fortunately, the even more difficult task of moving from that top 10 to 5 was up to our cohort of investors. So whilst today's focus is on that top 5, we wanted to recognize the whole top 10 who joined us at the start of the journey. And each one has been offered investment readiness advisory, legal guidance from DLA Piper, key introductions, and most importantly, they're now part of the Spring community for life.
These ventures include Sonaro, Chocovate Labs, True Motion, Elori Health, and Workind. We also often see our top 10 go on to receive investment and grow brilliant businesses. So these are definitely companies to watch.
Absolutely. And now you'll get to meet our 2026 top 5 founders and their innovative solutions that tackle a really interesting range of problems facing people and our planet today. Their businesses are designed to blend profit and purpose. And also, when we say women-led, we mean that women own at least 33% of the business and have a decision-making role in the C-suite.
This program is designed to advance gender equity by highlighting the incredible work of these women-led ventures, activating a more diverse and inclusive angel investor community across Canada, and ultimately catalyzing more early-stage capital.
So today, each of our top founders will share their pre-recorded pitch, followed by a live Q&A with us. And while our investor cohort will be choosing which company receives the Women-Led Investment Prize, we also want to hear from you. So who would you choose to invest in based on what you hear today? Take notes and let us know.
We'll be asking for your vote in the People's Choice Award, and we'll be gifting the winner tickets to either Web Summit or Startup Fest in Montreal, whichever one they would prefer. This year's Invest Together program began in February with our investment readiness catalyst for the top 10 and culminated in a rigorous but collaborative due diligence process for our top 5.
So I definitely want to acknowledge the brilliant minds and individuals at NRC IRAP who have been multi-year supporters of Spring's work with women and non-binary founders. So whilst they don't want the limelight, you know who you are, and our work, ability to iterate and improve over the years and ultimately catalyze millions of dollars in early stage, dilutive and also non-dilutive funding to Canada's innovators has been thanks to their generous support.
I also want to take some time and thank DLA Piper. They have been our long-standing legal partner who provide world-class investment readiness reviews to the founders that we work with. This benefits all of us by empowering our founders to share their deal terms with confidence and enabling investors to see that these founders understand their options throughout the investment process. Thank you, DLA Piper.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, we're also coming to the end of a 3-year journey of support from the Women's Entrepreneurship Strategy from ISET. And a collaboration as part of this, as part of the WIN VC project with partners from across the country in support of women and non-binary founders, and especially in the context of this program, supporting more angels to invest with a gender lens. It's testament to the fact it absolutely takes a village to do this work. And so I wanted to thank everybody involved.
Now shifting gears a little bit, we'd also like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our due diligence coaches who generously share their time, expertise, and energy to support this year's cohorts. Invest Together has always included investor coaches who help guide the investors through due diligence. But this year, we introduced founder coaches to help founders navigate the feedback from the investors and use it to inform practical next steps for their companies. So I'd love to say a huge thank you to our founder coaches, Priya, Deborah, Lorraine, Chelsea, and Catherine. Thank you so much for the work that you've done. And now I'd also like to thank our investor coaches, Elizabeth, Jane, Lise, Sally, and Teresa. You have been so much more than supporters. You've been active collaborators in the mix, doing due diligence, helping the investors come to a clarity. Your dedication was instrumental in helping shape a space where these entrepreneurs and investors could learn and grow together. Thank you so much.
That's such a unique design. And we're just one last thank you away from today's pitches, and that is for the investment analysts from Propel Impact, part of the Spring family. And I really appreciate their support throughout the due diligence process. In fact, all the investors gave them a shout out across the journey. They were essential to providing each venture and investor group with key materials that they use throughout the program and will continue to use on the journey ahead. So thank you so much for all you did. And now it's time to hear from the top 5 and learn about their innovative solutions.
Okay, this is the magic. So we have a 3-minute pitch video from each venture, followed by 3 minutes of questions with the founders. And so the pitch order, which we've determined beforehand, is Agrogene Solutions, 2S Water, Moroncle Health, Packville, and Briosphere Biotechnologies. Once all 5 pitches are done, you'll have the chance to vote for your favorite in the People's Choice Award before we announce this year's top venture.
Okay, first up is Pascal Michaud, CEO and co-founder of Agrogene Solutions.
Hi, my name is Pascal Michaud. I am the co-founder and CEO of Agrogene Solutions, and we are on a mission to save our pollinator populations by building the first proactive diagnostic tools for honeybees. So why is it important to save our bee populations? Well, 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we eat is directly dependent on pollination. However, we are now in a situation where we just don't have enough bees to pollinate all our crops, and this is really a major problem worldwide. Now, what is causing this? Well, science shows that these losses are majorly attributed to increasing infections in honeybees, which lead to 30 to 50% annual hive losses, which is really a threat to global food security. Now, how do we solve this? Well, Agrogene has developed a non-invasive molecular test that can detect infections earlier. So for the first time, beekeepers have access to routine testing, really turning hive management from reactive to proactive. And by providing accurate testing and, most importantly, actionable insights, we help remove the guesswork from hive management so decisions are timely, they're targeted, and they're effective. The pollination market is a massive industry that is being valued between $265 to $530 billion globally. And there's an unmet gap in honeybee diagnostics that we are addressing, and we are going after a North American market of $100 million. We are a strong scientific team with over 7 years of combined R&D experience, and we've also received support from different agencies, either through non-dilutive funding or through mentorship. So we are currently in market. We are working with customers across Canada, and we've been seeing really good traction lately in terms of new customers and new sales. We are also working with local governments to partner with their local apiary programs, as well as working with distributors across Canada to scale up our sales. Finally, we are also planning our US expansion this year. We're just finalizing pricing with a partner lab. We are now raising our pre-seed round of up to $500,000, and we also have our lead investor who is committed for 40% of that round. This raise will really help us support more product development, some marketing and sales effort, as well as expand the team. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. And if anyone wants to learn more, feel free to reach out directly.
Fantastic. Pascal, thanks so much for that presentation. So I'm going to kick off with a few questions, and then we might have some from the audience as well that will come through, although I do need to start my timer, I'm told. So what I love about your solution is the ripple effect it has, and it really blew my mind when I started to understand that. I'd love to know what end result, like what is the longer term impact you hope to see in the world if your technology is widely adopted?
Yeah. So, our clients are beekeepers. They're really the ones who are the first line in solving this problem. But in the end, it's really going to affect everybody. If we can sustain a healthy pollinator population, then we can better pollinate our crops. It's directly tied to food security. So literally everyone will benefit from our pollinator populations being healthy.
And I'd love to hear a bit more about the proof points, whether that's field trials, partnerships, early customers, which you mentioned, that gives you confidence that your technology is going to gather adoption.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just been able to caught up with one of our customers lately who so far is reporting 100% survival rate of last year, and she's been using our service all year. So we think that's it's a very supportive of our technology, and it's a good starting point.
It's amazing. Okay. How do you see your revenue model expanding or evolving over time?
Yeah, we do see implementation of a subscription model in the future as well, because we really want to get beekeepers to do this routinely, to do it a couple times a year. So that's definitely a model we're exploring, and also working with local governments to integrate the testing into apiary programs more at a provincial level.
And I mean, I could go on forever. So I'm intrigued. At the moment, you're focusing on beekeeping. Can this technology be used as more of a platform technology?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that is why the name of our company is not limited to bees. We're kind of always keeping the door open, but the technology behind it is something that could be applied to other sectors, and anything you can think of that's susceptible to infections and pathogens and diseases. It's something that we could replicate in other sectors as well, and that we are always keeping an eye out and doing more R&D on that.
Do you have a priority market in mind that you'd explore next?
Yeah, we've been thinking about the oyster market because in Atlantic Canada, the pathogen issues have been pretty horrific here, I must say. So that is one where we know there is interest to develop this same type of diagnostic test. So we are exploring that right now.
Okay. And last question from me. How are you solving something in a better or faster way than existing solutions?
Yeah, well, we're actually, because it's a molecular test, we're actually able to detect diseases before physical signs appear. And so, being proactive really makes a difference. There's no one else on the market doing this type of testing. And so we also offer a quick turnaround. So, it's easy for beekeepers to use this service and get the results in time. So they actually have, time to apply proper treatments or manage their hives differently depending on the results.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Best of luck today. And also thank you for all the effort you've put in across the past few months.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Next up is 2S Water with the founder and CEO, Anthea Sargent. Over to you.
We are 2S Water, and we are enabling industrial water management with data. There is a critical process control gap right now. Fluids flow through industrial processes at gallons per minute, but data arrives days later. Operators are functioning blind. Take, for example, the critical mineral supply chain. A lot of new mineral extraction is done through brine mining or aqueous extractive processes. I'm sure you've heard about the growing demand for lithium. Well, lithium brine is our beachhead market. Let me tell you a little bit about the challenges that they suffer. Right now, when a brine comes into facility, you need not only to know the amount of lithium in it so that you can properly extract it, but also operators need to know a multitude of other metals that can cause fouling on the sensors or degrade the final product. They need multivariable analysis, and right now, the only way they can get it is through laboratory testing. We provide a solution which closes this data gap. And it's a huge gap with real impacts. If the brine quality isn't pure enough to be battery metal, they face a 2 to 3 times revenue premium loss. There's multi-million dollar machinery at risk. The membranes which extract these are incredibly expensive and must be protected. And even if they've got all of that nailed down, existing processes are easily leaking 3 to 5% just through uncontrolled processes. The AquaValid sensor is the solution to this problem. We connect directly to a flow of water and monitor in real time for multiple metals. We have strong patent protection on the hardware and trade secret level protection on the software. The software, which has embedded machine learning, which we have written in-house and deployed into the field, delivers the data directly to the operator when and where they need it to make operational decisions. We are a custom lab for each application right at the source of the data. So what does this mean for our customers? Well, when SQM analyzed their chemical plant, they determined it would be a $16 million ARR increase by implementing this data source. Newmont, when we ran the analysis on their entire system, determined that optimizing their gold cyanide leachate circuit could be a 100 million ARR opportunity for them. And working with Aramet, analyzing their new facility being built in Argentina, we projected a $35 million ARR by optimizing their existing process with this data. We are targeting a $250 million niche within a $50 billion market, which is the North American metal analyzer market, and it is growing aggressively. There's lots of additional markets as we grow, but for right now, we're laser focused on mining. We have significant early traction with mining majors, and right now we are raising money to get units out in the field, get referral customers, case studies, and get the flywheel of sales running. We have a $1 million Canadian seed raise underway with our lead secured. If this sounds like a company that you could get behind, if protecting water and optimizing industry gets you excited, then please reach out. We would love to have you on board. We are 2S Water, and we are protecting the world's water with data.
I love that. Thank you, Anthea. Obviously, you ended with if you were excited. So I'd love to know, like, what gets you excited when you wake up in the morning to build this business?
Well, as you know, Nathan, I come from Alberta. I have a background in oil and gas. I didn't feel like I was leaving the right environmental legacy that I wanted to leave. 2S Water is my vision of how I can change my impact on the world to a positive environmental impact. And I'm so very excited about that.
I love that. And so you're focused mainly on the mining industry. Maybe if you can go again, like what problem in there are you solving that current solutions absolutely can't?
Yeah, they're relying on a lot of laboratory testing right now. So that means either taking samples and mailing them to external labs and waiting weeks for the results, or it means building full wet labs on site, costing millions of dollars and taking PhD level chemists to run. They need this data not just for control of processes, which is what I talked about in the pitch, but also for effluent monitoring. So making sure the water leaving their facilities is safe and clean before it goes out into the environment.
Okay. And you mentioned, obviously, there's a lot of demand from the mining companies, mainly focused US, Canada. Like, where have you seen the strongest demand so far?
Our primary focus right now is in Canada and the United States for 2026. We see the most demand probably coming from South America, though. I think that we're going to be there probably in 2027. The Chilean market is the #1 copper market, the #2 lithium market, and they have huge environmental pressures around water use and the tug of war in between mining and agriculture. So a lot of potential benefit that we can bring to that as well.
And if you zoom out, like when you think of the systemic change that happens, like you fast forward 5, 10 years in the future, this is widely adopted. What's the larger systemic change that you hope to create by building this company?
We're in this really interesting junction point right now where a lot of new industrial processes have rolled into the field and are adding to pollution really aggressively right now. Our vision 10 years from now is to stop that trend and to turn it around. We can't adjust anything that we don't understand. So unless we have the data that we need in order to understand what's happening in these processes, we can never affect them. We're going to provide that data, and we're going to let operators turn around their impact and allow our industrialization to continue without the environmental impact continuing with it.
So awesome. I think when I think of water and I think of water treatment, it affects me on a personal level as I'm trying to drink water every day. But it sounds like you're tackling this to eventually get to the folks who never even think about water at all. Is that correct?
I mean, in North America, we generally don't. We turn on our tap and we don't worry about it. And that's such a huge privilege. And I would hate to see future generations not have that same privilege. We have an obligation and a duty to make sure that we protect the world's water sources for future generations. And I want to be a part of that.
Awesome. I think the last question is, how much of the ARR increase from your customers are you capturing and how?
Yeah, that's a really insightful question, Allison. I think that's somewhere that we're still evolving as a company. Right now, we have kind of a fixed business model with a capital purchase as well as an ongoing recurring revenue portion. And then on top of that, we have maintenance and consumables. We're going to evolve and learn about our business model as we demonstrate these ROIs and start to gather a sufficient enough data set that we can start to gather a portion of that. I think, this stage of our company, there's lots of interesting evolution that's going to happen with our business model. Right now, we have a business model set up where we're making about 60% profit margins on hardware and software. In the future, I see a lot of opportunity to increase that and to leverage the data set that we develop, which is going to be really incredibly valuable for additional revenue generation.
So awesome. Anthea, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck today. It's been a pleasure working with you throughout the program.
Thank you. Just one last thing for the audience, if you want to support me, you can always vote me audience choice. So feel free to do that. Would love to win that one. You don't get what you don't ask for, right?
That's true. That's true. You got to shoot your shot. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anthea.
Okay, and we're going to be hearing from another inspiring founder and venture. Next up is Mironcol Health, led by co-founder and CEO Victoria Zoom.
Hello, everyone. I'm Victoria Xu, CEO of Mironcol Health. We are losing the war on cancer. Over 1 in 3 people will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. About 1 in 4 will die from cancer. Yet less than 1 in 5 cancer cases are found in screening. It is just pure luck for a small portion of cancer patients to get detected early. These are not numbers, but real people, real lives. My cousin, Mironcol's logo designer, died young from cancer in his 30s. We know that technologies exist to detect cancers. In fact, currently, most early-stage cancers are incidental findings through these technologies. The challenge is that we don't have a way to effectively identify who should use them other than a few narrowly defined high-risk people. Therefore, this is not a sick care problem, but a true healthcare problem. That's why this is an enormous market with hundreds of billions of dollars global opportunities, serving consumers instead of patients. Now we have developed a breakthrough technology to solve the problem. It is a blood test without requiring any new equipment that can find about 90% of early-stage cancers with less than 1% false positive rate. That is relevant to about 80% of non-breast solid tumors. This presumably shared pattern is detected through Mironcol's proprietary algorithm trained with machine learning. Such amazing performance is made possible by microRNAs, a relatively new discovery recognized by 2024 Nobel Prize. MicroRNAs are widely known for their high potential as biomarkers for many diseases. We are proud to publish the first of its kind microRNA-based multi-cancer early detection model in the world. We have filed 3 patents, 2 peer-reviewed publications, and 6 conference presentations. Since Canadian incorporation, we have successfully raised funds and grants, expanded the team, presented at competitive events. More importantly, we have secured essential R&D and commercial partners to support our MVP launch by summer 2026. No regulatory approval is required as it is not a medical device. We have a team with a diverse background bringing a strong execution capability and capacity. all of us have proven track records from the relevant industry. Now, finally, it is so hopeful that we can win the cancer war with potentially millions of lives saved globally. One more thing, cancer is just a starting point. Our vision is to democratize preventative healthcare, including heart and brain health, through the same blood draw with improved AI algorithm, all based on microRNAs. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Victoria. I really appreciate your pitch, and also, I know behind the scenes over the past few months, all of your work with the investors on due diligence. So, fast forward 5 years, what does Morocco look like? What diseases are you detecting? Who's using your tests? Would love to hear more.
Sure. 5 years, we certainly will be able to add in neurodegenerative disease and cardiovascular disease. That's in our pipeline because we know microRNA holds a potential. There are already early research showing that, and we are building the platform to commercializing those and bring them to consumers sooner rather than later.
Oh, okay. Elaine in the chat, thank you. What types of cancers are the initial tests detecting, and can this be expanded to cover all cancers?
Well, it won't be all, but we currently have data of 13 cancer types. We found a shared signal across 12 of them. The only cancer type doesn't look like this shared signal is breast cancer, but doesn't mean that we cannot detect breast cancer. It's just not this shared one that will cost a little bit more to do so. We actually had the model, more comprehensive model, can distinguish breast cancer very accurately. So our approach is to identify a small signal based on few microRNAs that can essentially be done by a widely available PCR to make it affordable. It's a data problem to solve. Down the road, it will be a lot more. That it has already shown that other players in this space, based on DNA, they typically start with 10-ish cancer types. In the real world, they detect 50. So that's the typical claim they have, is that a multi-cancer early detection typically detect 50 plus. But we don't think it will be all. There will be different type of test to cover all.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned other players in this space. So I'd love to hear a bit more about who is active and how do you set yourselves apart?
Sure. The mainstream technology is DNA based. That there are billion-dollar companies who set this space for about 10 years now. The main challenge that they are facing, particularly based on this DNA, is found that they're too expensive and the early stage sensitivity is very low. That's really is a key challenge of the industry. While the microRNA holds the potential to solve this problem while maintain the high a low false positive rate while still increase the sensitivity. And it's a wide range of research already shown that, and we are certainly one of that and leading the effort on that.
Amazing. And you mentioned in your presentation that you have pilots teed up for this summer. So congrats on getting key partners there. Can you tell us more about what it is you're specifically looking to test and what happens next after those pilots?
So it's actually not pilots. It's actually a real launch that we're targeting.
Oh, apologies. Okay.
Yeah, yes, it's actually you just go to you will go to our website and pay for it and go to Life Lab to get the blood draw and then get the results actually. So the initial launch that beyond what we've done, it was the proof of concept studies, which was published, peer review published, that we actually had another external validation with samples sourced here in Canada that covering lung, colorectal, and prostate cancer. So that's the sort of, we call it MVP launch. But in the real world, it can discover more cancer types. And actually, kind of spoiler alert here, that for those test positive, we will cover full body MRI for them scan to them. So then that could be a transition from this private preventative health effort into the public clinical investigation that be fully covered by our universal healthcare here in Canada.
Well, and I was just going to ask actually, so is this me in Canada? I'm going to be able to participate, purchase, and if I'm in the US as well, or are you starting with Canada? Tell me more about your international plans.
We start from Canada and we will roll it out to other non-US countries, including Europe and UK and Australia's countries who have universal healthcare. So we can launch in the US, but then because they don't have the universal healthcare, the follow-up is complicated. But we do have a strong network there. Then certainly we can launch it just like whether we're not covering full body MRI, whether covering full body, we will still covering full body MRI. But after full body MRI in the US, it's a much more complicated story to get follow-up done. That's our advantage here in Canada and Europe and beyond, rather than the US.
I want to do a quick one from Malcolm, and then you can answer more in the chat. So what's the clinical development plan in terms of dollars and time?
So I suppose this is about we call it prospective study or clinical trial. Yes, we will do that, but that's not blocking our launch this test. That's also a common practice. And then players will launch the LDT while they do the prospective study. So it will be a 10-year plan. Ultimately, it could be $1 billion involved, but we will do it when we generate revenue, when we raise more funds. So that's not blocking us, but it can. We will spend money on that to lead ultimately a regulatory approval to get it basically reimbursed for a certain group of people. That's the goal. But for the commercial, for getting to people, we don't need. We are not blocking by that plan.
Okay, and that also sounds like that'd be worth digging into in the chat as well. So I encourage you to do that. Thank you. Just huge appreciation for all the effort you've put in, and best of luck with your continued race.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Packville with founder and CEO Parinaz Pakniat.
Hi, my name is Parinaz Pakniat. I'm the founder and CEO of Packville. A few years ago, I was sitting on my sofa reading the news on housing crisis in Canada. Then I looked at my 2 children and I told myself they will never afford a house unless we do something. I'm a civil engineer. At that point, I had 15 years of experience in the construction industry. What did I do? I grabbed the phone, I called a few colleagues, friends and family, and I told them, we do have the knowledge, we do have the experience, and I believe by using innovation, we can solve the housing crisis in Canada and many other countries. Who's on board? The next day, we incorporated Packville. Now it's 2.5 years into our business. What do? We invented a product that transforms the industry. We use literally recycled plastic bottles to produce construction panels. These construction panels go together like large pieces of Legos, and we get to build energy efficient homes. Let me show you how it looks like. We established a manufacturing facility at this point. The panels that you see here, these are the large Lego blocks that I told you about. We manufacture these panels in our facility in Montreal, and we flat pack them. We ship them to the job site, and we train the local guys to do the installation. Now, due to the unique design of our panels, our homes are being built in 2 to 3 weeks, compared to traditional construction that would take 8 to 9 months. This is a true game changer. At this point, we market our products under 2 categories. One is the home kits. These are building envelopes that we supply as individual home kits, and we sell them through general contractors or real estate developers to build single-family homes. This is one example that you see here. The second product is the exterior wall panels for high-rises or multiplexes. We're targeting these products directly to real estate developers or the general contractors. We have launched our products to the market about 18 months ago. Over the past months, we priced out over $85 million worth of projects. This shows the big traction in the industry. Out of all the projects that we priced out, we received $2.3 million of orders. To just give you an example, this is a project, it's a 2-bedroom house that we delivered in November of last year. Now, I would love to invite all of you to join us in transforming the construction industry and truly building a sustainable future, one neighborhood at a time. Thank you very much.
Love the end as well. Hi, Parinaz. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. I'm curious, let's talk a little bit about the developers. So given their normal process, Packville comes in, how does that affect their economics and their timeline?
Actually, developers love our products. For us, it's kind of easy to win them over. Number one, the most important factor for them is the price. So price-wise, we compete with the conventional material, where typically, if we're talking about single-family homes, the overall cost of building a house with our system is about 35% less than conventional material and methods. And number two is on the performance. So our panels are very durable. They last for hundreds of years, many benefits that come with our particular panels. So it's kind of easy to win the real estate developers and, put our foot in the door to do the projects with them.
Awesome. And like, what was the big aha moment from early pilots that allowed you to think, hey, we can actually build this and grow at scale?
The big aha moment, very early on, initially when we started the business, we wanted to get into prefab industry using obviously conventional material. But very early on, we understood that we couldn't really compete in terms of pricing with the conventional construction material and methods. And that's when we started looking into alternative solutions. We ended up, coming up with our unique products, and the early tests that we did really gave us the aha moment, saying that this product, it's basically like a concrete panel, has high strength, but it has very good insulation values, and it's super light. And then we said, okay, let's start building homes, and then later on building multi-story buildings out of the material.
Wow. And I mean, you've obviously have a ton of experience in the construction space. Very curious to know, when you think of the construction space, it's massive, it's usually slow to change. How are you addressing that, and how are you moving forward with that?
A very good question. If we talk about the single family homes, the point that helps us move the projects forward is the fact that we do have internal architects and engineers. So we issue all the paperwork that's needed to confirm the code compliance of our units. And when we look at large scale projects, again, because we win the real estate developers with performance and price, we work with the local, with the architects or the engineers involved with the project. And since, we've done the testing, we have the proof that the material works. And again, because the pricing is very competitive, it's not too difficult to bring them on board.
Love that. I see there are a couple of questions in chat. So rapid fire, how do you deal with the legal considerations, as well as how do you deal with thermal bridging with your panels?
Okay, so I'm going to answer the second question first. Thermal bridging, we actually eliminated thermal bridging at 100%. Our panels all have a shiplap connection, and they get screwed together from the outside. That eliminates the thermal bridging and air infiltration in our units. So actually our homes are significantly better in terms of energy efficiency. The other question was about legal. For the legal aspect, we issue the structural drawings that are all signed and sealed by a local engineer who's licensed to practice engineering, and that takes care of the legal aspect of it.
Awesome. Final question. You mentioned you're tackling the housing crisis in Canada. In 5 years, 10 years, how soon are we talking about that?
We launched our products on the market. We generated revenue last year. So the main target that we set for ourselves is to get to the point that we supply 10,000 home kits per year. Now, if we compare that to the actual number of homes being built in Canada, that represents about 20 to 25% of the construction industry. And we're heading to hit that goal by year 2032.
Fabulous. Okay, love that. Parnaz, thank you so much for taking the time. Pleasure having you throughout the cohort, and we look forward. Best of luck today. Hopefully things go well.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And we've now come to our final top 5 founder and the last pitch. So remember, you have your chance to vote for your favorite venture for the People's Choice Award. First, we get to hear from Liz Mann, co-founder and CEO of Briosphere.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz Mann, CEO and co-founder of Biosphere Biotechnologies, where we turn moss into living factories to produce high-performance, low-carbon ingredients for skincare. So I want to start with a big opportunity. Plants are the best biochemists in the world. Over hundreds of millions of years, they have evolved to make incredibly sophisticated molecules. But only a small fraction of these are commercially available today, and it represents an almost $20 billion global raw ingredient market. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The vast majority of complex compounds never reach market, not because they don't work, but because they're too rare or too difficult to manufacture at scale. Biosphere is a moss-based biomanufacturing platform designed to surface these hidden molecules and make them available at commercially relevant scales. We're starting in skincare, specifically the hyperpigmentation market, where the category is fundamentally broken. Hyperpigmentation is one of the most common and visible signs of aging, yet few ingredients actually work, like hydroquinone and kojic acid, which are harsh and increasingly restricted by regulators and retailers. Meanwhile, safer alternatives like vitamin C and niacinamide underdeliver on results. Skincare brands are stuck. Consumers want efficacy, regulators want safety, and there's no ingredient that can deliver both at commercial scales. The good news is there is something that works. Our lead ingredient, or eucydin, was discovered nearly 60 years ago and was shown to inhibit human tyrosinase, the key enzyme driving hyperpigmentation, almost 25 years ago. It works significantly better than legacy actives, and critically, it does this at doses that remain safe to skin cells. It's never been commercialized before because it exists in vanishingly small amounts in nature, but this is where moss comes in. We engineer moss to produce high levels of complex plant compounds like eucydin. Moss grows in simple, low-cost, bubbling photobioreactors that are easy to scale. Our process is straightforward. We engineer the moss, grow it, and extract the ingredients just like any other botanical, except with far greater control, reliability, and sustainability. Our mission is to decarbonize ingredient supply chains. We start with carbon dioxide, water, and light. Moss uses these inputs to grow and produce high-value ingredients. We supply those ingredients directly to skincare brands who incorporate them in their finished products. This reduces reliance on fossil fuel-derived chemistries at the very start of the value chain, and it introduces a carbon-negative process through biomass sequestration. This is how impact scales, upstream, ingredient by ingredient. Biosphere was founded in 2022 by myself and my co-founder, Hila. Our biggest lesson so far has been that the science isn't the bottleneck. Manufacturing is. Once you can solve scale, everything else accelerates. Since launching, we've secured initial capital, brought our first ingredient to market, protected our IP, and now we have early commercial traction with 3 LOIs in place. We're currently raising $500,000 US to hit 2 key milestones over the next 12 to 16 months, securing 4 to 5 paid pilots with leading skincare brands, and validating reproducible production at scale. Thank you so much for considering Biosphere.
Wow, another incredible presentation and innovation. Thanks so much for that, Liz. I'm just blown away. I'm going to dive into some questions for you, though. So what excites me about this as well as obviously what you're working on in the hyperpigmentation space, but it also sounds like it's a platform technology so that you can then address other issues. So I'd love to understand, what is your vision for where you could take this? Oh, I'm not hearing your audio. Wouldn't mind trying again. Not yet. Okay. But as we're figuring out the audio, please do. Yes. Okay. I was going to say, please do.
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, so hyperpigmentation is really our beachhead market, but this is a multi-ingredient platform. We already have 2 other ingredients in our development pipeline that can move into other verticals in the skincare space. And I think really that's what we're doing. This is a validation market for us to showcase the strength of our technology.
Yeah, that's exciting. Can you reveal, or is it top secret?
No, I can reveal. So
yeah.
The other verticals, we have one that is a collagen stimulating ingredient. So it stimulates our skin's ability to make more collagen. And the other is to help treat inflammation and rosacea, which is a very common skin concern for many people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love if you could talk us through a bit more about the journey to market and the role of key partners in that process, commercial partners.
Yeah, I think for a new skincare ingredient, the key really is to prove the value in the marketplace. So for us, going to market isn't about targeting those big whales. It's starting with mid-sized brands that can test our ingredient, put it on their shelves and showcase, look how much more we're selling. And so we are already engaged in those partnerships in formulation and testing.
And so what are the key next steps with them and your timeline ahead?
So the next steps for us really are about scaling so that we can help provide enough of our ingredient to take them through what's called stability testing over the next 6 months. And then that will be followed by an order for their first product launch, which is about 20% volume. And that will happen in the next 8 to 9 months.
That's fantastic. We'll see you on shelves soon then. And I also wanted to understand, so what have, in your conversations with those cosmetic partners, what have they told you that really convinces you that Biosphere is solving a real problem or a need for them?
Yeah, I think for a lot of them, it's just how much the ingredient space is changing and how much more pressure they're getting from big retailers. So skincare brands really, really care if Sephora is putting them on the shelves, if Target's putting them on the shelves. And all of these big retailers are creating these clean ingredient programs. And so they're reviewing all the ingredients of new products they put on their shelves. And for formulators and skincare brands, this is a big concern. And so they're looking for what are called clean label ingredients to replace their legacies.
And I'm sure you've looked at national and international market dynamics there. I'd love to know, what is your international expansion plans and how does that sort of, whether it's regulatory or consumer preference, vary and influence your plan?
Yeah. Well, the big restricting factor for us as an ingredient platform and an ingredient supplier is really the regulatory framework that we can move through. Many of our skincare brands do have international reach, so really they will be bringing it to the markets that they see as relevant. It's up to us to make sure that we are compliant with North America, Europe, and then eventually we will move into the Chinese marketplace as well.
Okay. And last one to leave us on is, what does the future look like if your technology is widely adopted?
I think it's part of a future that's driven by a bioeconomy that is really changing the way that ingredients are sourced and the way that these upstream industries that drive a massive industry like skincare can become carbon neutral or carbon negative and reduce our reliance on the petroleum-derived ingredients we used to use. I think it's part of that big shift.
Yeah, especially relevant today. Huge thank you for all of your effort you put into the program, to sharing your work to date, and best of luck today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you to all the founders. I think one of my favorite parts of hearing these pitches is just how they've evolved over time from day one to now. And to me, that's one of the biggest benefits of Invest Together. The founders get to have meaningful conversations with the investor cohort, and it helps them get a different perspective on their venture. So creating that space for founders and investors to come together and collaborate is crucial. So just to recap, we talked about 5 companies: Agrigene, 2 Westwater, Moronco Health, Packville, and Biosphere Biotechnologies.
What I love is the huge variety within that list. So please vote. Congratulations to all of those 5. Thank you for your pitches today. And as I said, the effort that has gone into this journey. We open the poll. So get out your phones, go into that QR code and vote, please. Take a moment to reflect on the pitches and choose one that resonated with you the most. We're not predetermining your investment thesis or rationale for voting. So scan that code. And then soon we'll announce that winner of the People's Choice Award. And in parallel, after a lot of deliberations with the investor cohort, we'll also announce the 2026 top venture that will be winning the investment prize. So as your votes come in, we'll share a bit more about what's coming up at Spring. Thanks.
If you or someone you know has a climate tech or clean tech venture that's raising investment, or if you're an accredited investor seeking climate investment opportunities, we're creating a top 10 of Canada's most innovative and scalable climate solutions for this investment prize program. Very similar to this women-led cohort, this one's going to be focused on climate innovation. So if you have your phones, also take a look. If you're an investor, scan the QR code, and the founder, scan the QR code.
Awesome. And I'll also take a moment to talk about our Scale Ready offerings for founders. So as many of you know, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor, starting, funding, and scaling an impact venture can be tough. It's probably an underestimation. But you don't have to do it alone. And Scale Ready is driving momentum with companies across Canada as they innovate, raise, and grow. It's a multi-level program so that we can support you where you're at on your journey, whether you are navigating your capital landscape and what funding is right for you, whether you're preparing or actively raising equity, or on that growth track and building foundations for scale. So there's an offering there for you. We look forward to supporting you on that journey.
And we even had some Scale Ready companies in this year's Invest Together, which was truly awesome to see. And we believe that program is just poised for great success this year. And so personal call to founders, we hope you can join because it really is a really good platform for you in your next steps.
Well, to date, and we launched the program in the summer, to date, participating ventures have already raised $7 million. So the impact is real, and it's very quick. And now we're going to be waiting for the People's Choice Award, which I know the team are working through in the background. So we'll wait for the slides to come up because we don't know either. So
this is live.
And I'm very intrigued, given the real diversity of different innovations, different business models, and also stages that and timelines that each of those will take to get to market. So who you have voted for.
And the People's Choice Award winner this is the venture with the most votes from you, the audience. And so the winner is Pascal Michaud with Agrigene.
Amazing. Woo! That is fantastic. And what blew me away with Agrigene's approach is just, as I mentioned with Pascal there, the ripple effect that has on our food systems is huge in terms of beehive health. So huge congratulations, Pascal.
And now the moment we've all been building toward is here. The announcement of this year's top venture. So the top venture will receive the pooled cohort investment. And if you are an accredited investor in the room and you like what you've seen here, now is the time to get in on the prize. What we've also seen in the past is that some of the other top 5 ventures will likely end up raising through this community as well. And so I'd love to invite you to join in.
Amazing. And this is following weeks of supported due diligence, deliberations, and a lot of meaningful conversations. So the investor cohorts made their decision, and I'm honored to reveal that the 2026 Invest Together and Women-Led Impact top venture is Packville Paranaz. Hopefully she'll be coming up on stage so we can congratulate her in person.
Wow.
Huge congratulations.
And thank you so much. I believe all 5 of us were the winners. I had the opportunity to learn from the due diligence team, from our amazing coach Priya. Thank you so much for creating the opportunity and the platform. And we're going to have a lot of fun with the investment coming in and looking forward to the future.
That is awesome. So curious, I have 2 questions. Maybe what was the biggest challenge you overcame along the way to get to this point to receive the prize and continue in your journey?
The biggest challenge over the past 6 weeks?
6 weeks, 6 months, you can pick one.
Well, honestly, for us, this is, I would say the biggest challenge for us has been, convincing the investors that hardware has a great place. They should look into, their portfolio. Most of the investors are very focused on AI, quantum, or health products, and very little investors, a very small number of investors are willing to invest in hardware, let alone construction industry. So this is actually a great starting point for us. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Huge congratulations. And I know you've obviously convinced the investors of the solution, product market fit, but also of your own tenacity and incredible speed at which you have grown this organization and hit key milestones. So we're gonna say a huge thank you, congratulations, and wrap up, but obviously many conversations to come from here. Thank you so much. Wow. Huge congratulations, obviously, to Paranaz and Packville, as well as People's Choice Award, Agrigene, and all top 5 finalists. 2S Water, Briosphere Biotechnologies, Moronco Health, all are raising. So if you are thinking, actually, I would love to invest in that company, please do get in touch with us. We would love to connect the two of you. Each of them are developing groundbreaking and essential solutions, exceptional entrepreneurs, as you noticed, and we've shared links. So let us connect the dots. That is what we're all about, catalyzing capital to incredible, impactful ventures.
Mm-hmm. And just as we bring today's finale to a close, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone who joined us, to you, the audience, for being here with us today. To all of our founders, investors, coaches, Spring team who made this day possible. Also, just want to shout out the partners, investors who've just played a critical role in the founders' journeys and their growth.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to point to the large QR code, on the screen. So if you're still with us, please do give us feedback. We'd love to hear what you thought of today's finale. And as Nate mentioned, get in touch. How can we either support you on your entrepreneurial journey, on your investing journey, or help you find incredible companies to invest in?
We wish you all a wonderful rest of your afternoon, your evening, or wherever you are. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for joining.